So we reestablished permanent presence on December 3, 2018. So very short time. We closed the embassy in January 1991. So we have a lot of work to do. But I'm very hopeful because right now we're looking at what are the needs of the Somali people. What do they want? Mm-hmm. And will address those needs. And that's education. Mm-hmm. We were at 20,000 last year. We want to go to 150,000 target for educating children. We're looking at job creation. We created 1,700 jobs. We need to do thousands and thousands more. We're looking at healthcare programs. And more important is job creation. We really have to do the job creation in the areas of agriculture, fishery industries, and even livestock. So as you know, the last time you were here, we talked about our dairy program. We're able to help produce 3,500 liters of milk each and every day with yogurt, etc., for the Somali market just in Mogadishu. And that generated about almost over 500 jobs.
U.S. government is now headed by Donald Trump. So what is Donald Trump's vision in Somalia?
That's a good question. So, you know, Somalia is important because the peace in Somalia will also guarantee and ensure safety and security for for Ethiopia and Kenya and neighboring states, but also vice versa. Those stability and peace will also ensure stability in Somalia. So what we want to do is promote regional integration from Eritrea to Djibouti to Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia. And Somalia is critical because you have the longest coastline. And so with that in mind, that we can generate across Africa over $100 billion in new wealth just by doing integration of the economies. And that means money and jobs, lots of jobs for all people.
Thank you. Speaking during the Senate Foreign Committee, August 2018, you said, if I approved, I will advance U.S. national interest in Somalia. So far, what is your achievement for the interest of both U.S. and Somalia?
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, the U.S. national strategic interest is to ensure that we have safety and security, peace, and also economic development. Because those are the two key critical criteria for looking at economic development in Somalia. And that's what we want to, that's what our goal, and I think we're on the road to achievement. And this is a journey that's not just by the United States alone. It's going to be with the people of Somalia and also the elected leaders of Somalia, that we must work together. And so the integration and the working closely between regional states and the federal government on the one side, and on the other side too is helping the people of Somalia through education, increasing healthcare, but also giving them opportunities for the future. And are we successful? I think we're on the road to greater success than I have seen in my over 2 decades working on Somalia.
You paid a lot of money to UN and AMISOM. AMISOM, they've been here in Somalia for last 10 years. Do you think that the UN and AMISOM are doing a great job in Somalia? Are you satisfied?
So, you know, the U.S. national strategic interest is to ensure that we have safety and security, peace, and also economic development. Because those are the two key critical criteria for looking at economic development in Somalia. And that's what we want to, that's what our goal, and I think we're on the road to achievement. And this is a journey that's not just by the United States alone. It's going to be with the people of Somalia and also the elected leaders of Somalia, that we must work together. And so the integration and the working closely between regional states and the federal government on the one side, and on the other side too is helping the people of Somalia through education, increasing healthcare, but also giving them opportunities for the future. And are we successful? I think we're on the road to greater success than I have seen in my over 2 decades working on Somalia.
Your main assignment in Somalia was to support building effective security force, implementing stabilization and economic recovery programs, delivering humanitarian aid. How are you going to prioritize all these sectors?
So we have a two-pronged approach. security and safety is very critical, not only in Somalia, but all countries, even the United States. Because if you can have people who are free to pursue their own economic pursuits, that offers opportunity, space for them to develop. And once you have development, they'll be perfect. So the United Nations recently did a report on the drivers of violent extremism. And one of the problems is jobs, the lack of jobs. And so a lot of people from the Boko Haram, ISIS West Africa, Shabab, the UN assesses that jobs are going to be critical in addressing about 70% of these fighters. And so if that's a critical criteria, then we need to look at ways and means to expand job creation. And for Africa, that's important. You know the data. Between now and the end of this century, every 2 people born in the world, 1 will be African. That means we're going to have to create lots of jobs. We assess 20 million jobs a year need to be created just to meet the needs and address the aspirations in Africa. And here in Somalia, it starts 1 job at a time, 1 person at a time, and I think we're achieving that. And creating 1,700 jobs just in the last several months, I think that's a start. And
you know, Mr. Ambassador, U.S. don't only play the nation role in Somalia, but also militarily. You help Somali National Force in fighting against Al-Shabaab. Lately, U.S. fighter jets doubled their airstrikes in Al-Shabaab. What can you tell us about these airstrikes?
So let's go to security overall in the continent of Africa. So the United States, when I first started in Africa issues about over 2 decades ago, we started what's called ACRI and became ACOTA. The issue is that we want to train African troops to meet the security needs of each African state. So if you look at the total number of peacekeepers in Africa today, it's over 60,000. And over half of them in UN operations are African troops. And most of them have been trained by the United States. And if you include the African Union, and we're probably at over 60% of all troops, peacekeeping troops in Africa, were trained by the United States. And what's good about this is that it's now Africa meeting the security needs of their own country. So here in Somalia, our goals is to train and really upgrade the security of your forces in order to bring security so that you can have economic development and progress. And they really go hand in hand, not only the security side, but also the economic side.
But you increased the attacks against Al-Shabaab.
So I defer to the Ministry of Communications because they're the ones that are addressing a lot of the security needs. And so what they've announced and published is that, don't forget, there are Somali forces out there who are also meeting the needs of the security of the people of Somalia. And not only the Somali National Army, which is developing, but also the clan-based groups like the Danab, and also joint hybrid forces in Somalia. And these are all trained not just by the US, but by the European Union and other countries. And so what's happening is that now you're having a lot more security and space for the development that's taking place, and that's taking off.
The issue of US strike is sometimes said you missed target and it hit a civilian target. So who is responsible? Who is accountable?
So let me make one comment on that, but kind of refer you again to your Ministry of Communications. So the United States, in the pursuit of bringing security and safety to Somalia, is at the request of and support of the people of Somalia and also the elected government officials. So the United States, if you look at what we're doing, where we're engaged in other parts of the world, is to strengthen host nation military forces so that they have the capability and capacity to meet their own needs. Our issue is that we do not, we avoid it to the greatest extent any casualties among civilians. And what the Shabab have done, and
nowadays we have seen Taliban and US direct talks in Doha. So are you supporting Somali government to establish a relationship with Al-Shabaab?
So I served in Afghanistan. My son was there too, with the U.S. Army. So it's very unusual to have a father and son in the same war zone. Somalia is, ultimately, it lies with the people of Somalia. It cannot be directed or dictated by anyone other than the people and the governments that are elected by the people on how you want to handle the future. Because this is your country, this is your future. What we, the United States, want to do and ensure is that we don't have outsiders playing unhelpful roles or giving or directing advice. Because ultimately, it's you, the people of Somalia, and the government that have to take charge and ownership. And what we're trying to do is give you that opportunity. And so how you want to handle the Shabab ultimately lies within your own hands and also your own direction. And we'll support whatever you wish to do.
So negotiation and agreement is something.
Sure. And remember what the United Nations said. Over 70% are looking for jobs, economic. So if that's the issue, and we've been directed by community leaders and the government that Somalia needs jobs, needs economic development. If that's the issue, then we're going to do that. And just to be clear, the United States, the amount of investments and assistance we provide is more than all the other donors combined. That's Turkey, that's UAE, that's Qatar, that's the European Union, all the other countries. So the United States is at the forefront of providing this type of assistance and investment.
The Somali politics, we used to see foreign officials of foreign countries. They used to deal with one side, federal member states, and they're dealing with the other side for the federal government of Somalia. Is America going to change that narrative? Are you going to deal with the Somali central government directly, or still you're going to deal with each side?
So as you know, the form of government is really on the people and the elected officials of the people of Somalia. So look at the U.S. history. We're talking about the Articles of Confederation, and it failed. It was not appropriate. So the United States changed to the federal government and the Constitution. But even that, it took 50 years to establish constitutional government within the United States. And so it's a process and procedures, and it's up to the people of Somalia to determine. However you determine, we will follow. We're not going to direct, not guide, not dictate. All we're doing is trying to support what you want to do in your future, because ultimately, in the end, it's your country, it's your future. We want to do is support your future and make it a brighter future. That's what we want to do. Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.